No worries. I'm really stoked this morning to have a chat to Trey from Dying Fetus. How's it all going? You you never really slow down, do you at all, you guys?
No, no, not really. I mean, we do take our little breaks, but they are quickly followed up by extensive another month or two here or there of touring.
Because I look back. I mean, I follow you guys anyway, but when I see what you've done, and I backtracked it even a few days ago, I was like, far out. Like it's even like you've done a big, I think a US Canadian tour. You're coming out to us, and
Yes.
then literally in January you're back to Europe. It's like
Yeah, man, we're logging in those frequent flyer miles, you know?
the the love is big. I so you've been with the band for a long time since I think 2007, if I recall correctly. Um,
Yes.
what do you think's changed about the band's dynamic sort of over that time? Because obviously you're pretty, the releases come thick and fast, and so how do you think that dynamics kind of changed?
Well, it kind of changed along with the trends in the scene. Kind of around the time I got into the band, the very super technical, fast stuff was really, really popular. Necrophagist was the band kind of like really made everybody like go, oh, wow, we gotta step our game up. That is kind of reflected in albums like Descendant of Depravity and Reign Supreme. And we don't follow trends, but we definitely kind of tried to like keep up with the arms race, of that speed. And then as we progressed into the last several albums that we've done now, we've kind of like sat back a little bit on some of the technical wizardry and the breaking the light speed into doing what we've pretty much been known for, and that's like get that good groove in there mixed with the cool technical parts and the grindy parts. So we've kind of started to fall back into that.
Yeah, because it's definitely a real mix. I think it's, yeah, like you said, it's not jumping on a trend. I mean, there was definitely that technical stuff come in around that era, but yeah, it always keeps the brutality even at its basics. And I think always, I mean, because you guys have always played with hardcore bands and that as well. I think that's always that you're one of the most, I think, even in hardcore, when that kind of crossover of death metal has happened for a lot of bands, Gate Creeper and all that kind of crossover. But you guys there's always been a big loving from the hardcore kind of side of it as well. You know what I mean? Like that's yeah.
We've there's no Dying Fetus without hardcore.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no Dying Fetus without death metal. There's no Dying Fetus without Napalm Death, or Cannibal Corpse or Agnostic Front. None of if those bands weren't here doing it, then John and the guys in the past wouldn't have been inspired to just build a band that was based on those influences.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I was kind of hoping you'd say something like that because it's definitely because some bands they go, oh no, it's too this, it's too that, but it's always had that loving, and I follow all that stuff, everything from hardcore crust to extreme metal. So I think it sits beautifully in there, and it's never kind of keeps us bored as well. So how do you think the band has kept so? I mean, there's always been that interest. It's over like 30 years. So how, because it's that brutality, but there's always that deep interest, isn't it, all the time?
Well, I mean, I'm not quite getting the question.
Oh, so
What's?
how do you think that the band the people have kind of
Oh,
the fans have always, yeah,
the
there's always been
fans.
interest in the
Okay,
band, you know what I mean? Because with that brutality and
right,
changes,
right, right.
yeah.
I really don't know. Maybe just the name itself is kind of a attention getter. Uh, but we've also been pretty adamant in the last several years with touring with younger bands, and not just exclusively touring with legacy metal acts. Um, and when I think we are absolutely seeing the dividends of doing that right now. Our fan base is skewing younger on that tour. You mentioned going into Canada and the US. I mean, you looked at the front row and it's like, all right, cool. The scene is alive, you know,
Yeah.
like the new blood is here. And you mentioned with like playing with hardcore bands, and like we were at a hardcore fest not so long ago, and two young kids came up to me and was like, "You guys have hardcore fans now," and I'm like, "Been there. we were doing that before you were born, kid." But not to sound like some old guy, but
No, no.
I think it's because we've toured with younger bands, kept the scene young and vibrant, and not just the guys that are allowed to leave because his wife said, "Hey, you can go out and see that band that you loved 25 years ago."
Nah, yeah. I mean, I think that's what I was driving at, because it's a long period of time, but it's still, that interest is there. And I think, yeah, as you said, it's not, playing these legacy shows or the anniversary of the album and all that kind of stuff. Because I think it keeps it more vibrant with it. Because Gates to Hell, you played with them, didn't you, on that tour as well? And they're fucking phenomenal, aren't they?
Great band. They had a rough run at that. They had some transmission issues with their van. They missed some shows, but those guys were super pro, man. They showed up, banged it out, did really good. Trey, who's a drummer in that band, and the rest of his camp, those are good dudes, man. It was fun touring with them.
Yeah, yeah, very solid release it'd be. Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't seen them yet out here. Um, I was going to say, how's the writing process? How's that kind of worked with the last few albums, and also it begs the question, what's coming up next as well. So how does it, is it driven from like a single riff or a collaborative kind of let's do this? What's the kind of process generally?
It comes from several different ways. Sometimes it's just coming up with the name of a song. Wrong One to Fuck With. Great example.
Yeah, yeah.
We just named the song that, and then we started writing it. And on that album, like me and John wrote that album together, like at our rehearsal room, plugged the stuff into the computer and started working out ideas. And then sometimes we'll do stuff where, John will be like, "Hey, just give me a double bass part and just loop it." And he'll come up with something, and then we'll find the best one. And okay, how do we segue from here to here? And other times, we'll take the format of another band's song, and it's not stealing the song. It's more of like the structure of like, we need a verse, we need a chorus, we need a transition here, and use that as a rough template. By the end of it, it's drastically different than what it was. And sometimes everybody's got a riff and we just like try to wedge it in there. And sometimes at sound check, John will like do a random thing and I'll start playing along to it. We'll both look at each other and goes, is that the beginning of a song? I think that's the beginning of a song. So it comes different ways.
Yeah, there's many different ways. I was going to say, how does so my next question was, there's, as you mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of technical kind of riffing and crushing grooves. Where's that kind of middle point? I mean, from you, even as a drummer, because it's very the epic pace of the riffs, and then also that there's that groove in there as well, which is obviously driven by by yourself and the bass as well. Is there a bit of a tension between that sometimes? Fitting in that groove and that flow to the sheer kind of pace of it as well. Like, what, from your point of view as a drummer, what are your thoughts on that?
The songs that have more of groove and flow seem to come together easier.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have an elaborate technical part, sometimes it's a little the how do we segue, right? How do we go from here to here? And sometimes we've worked with like a slowdown, like will slow it down into the tempo of the next part. Maybe we just do a stop, guitar plays, and then band comes in. That's the harder part, is like shoehorning in literally like shoehorning in a technical part in the middle of like a groovy part, not a groovy part, but like, okay, we've had all this groove, we need to show off a little bit, and give the tech people something they need. I find that when we're writing, that's the difficult part, is like, and then to make it feel like it's supposed to be there.
Absolutely, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's tricky. We had just the end of last week. We had Blood Incantation. They played here, and then I was the transitions and that obviously insane. Like that was just they're going from a almost prog and jazz into like death metal. It was like
Right.
crazy stuff.
I need to check them out. I've heard about them. They're doing great. I have one of their vinyls, and I'll be honest, I've listened to maybe one song of theirs, but I hear they're great. I hear they're phenomenal.
Yeah, I'd catch them live, man. Particularly, there's a lot of musical stuff, but the drumming, and they've even got a gong behind them as well, like a big fucking gong. Like yeah, but
hell yeah,
yeah. But on album is good, but go see them live. Seriously, it blew my mind. Like yeah, just the yeah, but that's a different scale. What are your kind of favorite tour stories or any kind of big memories from the last, whenever, the last couple of years or that? What kind of stands out for you?
And some of the things that stand out to me are the things that like make me realize like, holy crap, we actually mean something to people. Like, or you run into somebody and they'll tell you about how what music we do is help them through a time or inspired them to want to do similar things to us. And kind of it always flattered. Try to stay humble with that. Don't let it make me feel like I'm something more than I'm not, because I'm just a guy. I just happen to play drums in a band you like, and I have my own problems. And when I realize that other people like look at what I do or what the band as a whole does, and it makes them feel good. I mean, that's great. And it's flattering and it's humbling, and it kind of makes it worth it. Makes the hard times easier to swallow.
Yeah, that. I mean, I think that's more important, and that's a bigger thing than I played with this band or this festival. So that's amazing, and it says about the character of you guys anyway, which I think that's pretty well known. Like so that's awesome. And I was going to say, so where do you think things are at the moment with kind of death metal and extreme metal? What's kind of jumping out at you at the moment? Is there any particular bands or any kind of I know you did mention that a lot of younger people are now getting into it. So yeah, what jumps out at you?
Metal is extreme metal. The death metal side of things is doing the better than it's ever been. Yeah. I believe. You've got, we're doing the best we've ever done. We're not first wave. We're like third wave, I guess. I don't even know what you would call it, and we're doing really good. You've got young bands like Lorna Shore who, occupy the deathcore, and your local Thyroid is Murder.
Yeah, absolutely.
From Australia, bands like those in the deathcore side of the scene that are doing very, very, very well for themselves, and having a great audience. The scene is young. The kids are into it. They want to be involved in this extreme stuff, and it's great. I love seeing it. In a little bit, we'll be seeing one of your knee oblis. Oh my god, I always mispronounce it.
I can't get it right either. I know.
Knee obliscaris. They're coming to town with Psychroptic. Some of your Australian boys. And so, those bands like those guys, they're doing great for themselves too. And, I'll be hanging out with those dudes real soon. I when we toured with, we just called them Neo.
Yeah.
Because it was just easier. I'm not meaning to disrespect the guys. I love them. But I think the scene's doing great. It's doing awesome.
Yeah.
On all sides, from black to death metal. Hardcore is having like this wild resurgence, which is great. And I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, it's super positive. I think it's as you said, there's young people involved. I think people are buying merch. They're bringing albums to show. Even when we had one of the kind of older bands, Possessed, they toured recently as well, and there was there were dudes in their 20s that were getting albums signed, and they, so I was like, wow, that's what I grew up when I was like, 17 or 18. That was one of the first bands that I heard, and then I was like, wow, these young dudes are here, they're really into it. So it's it's super inspiring, So, if someone hasn't heard Dying Fetus before, what album or particular track would you get them to jump to?
Well, I would encourage them to check out our latest album, Make Them Beg for Death. Yeah. I think that is probably in this formation of Dying Fetus, probably one of our best rendered albums. When I say rendered, like when I talked about it being technical and then becoming with the early albums for me, like Descent into Depravity, this is like we took all the things that we do, put it in a pot and rendered it down, burned off the fat, and like then we have just pure of essence of what we do. But Killing on Adrenaline, that's my favorite album. That's the one I came up listening to. And Destroy the Opposition. You want to hear something nasty and old school sounding, Purification Through Violence. The library that we have spans such a segment of, from being like that raw band that's like not so polished, but a lot of cool ideas, and through Purification and just getting more and more and more and more polished until where we are now. And where it's rendered down and pure. And check out that single we just released, Into the Cesspool. That's another cool example of like what we do as hardcore and bringing hardcore and technical stuff together.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, it covers, the catalog is so extensive. I mean, that's sort of pretty hard for you guys to even come up with a set list. I don't even know what the hell you would do. You're gonna feature the new stuff, but it's like, fuck, you've got this much, you know what I mean? But I think that last album is definitely a place to go into. I do think it's one of the best. Like, it's really captures a bit of everything. But there's no shortage of what you're going to pick from, and good luck with coming up with that set list for Australia too.
Yeah, I'm jamming later tonight with John. We're going to go see a show here in Baltimore later, and we're going to talk about like, what are we going to put on there? What songs are we going to do? Yeah,
it's tricky. Well,
anything you want to hear?
Oh man, I can't even, like where do you start and where do you end? Like, it's not, gotcha. The period that, as you said, the key, your favorite album, that's one of my favorite albums as well. So anything off that is always anything slotted in there. But the catalog is, where do you start? Where do you end? It's you're very lucky in that way. So, so we're going to be seeing you in December. So, thank you so much for your time. It's going to be killer, and 200 stab wounds as well. So I think it's a hell of a tour. So it'll be, and we're always pleased to see you. You know what I mean? So
it's awesome. Been a long time. It's been a long time since we've been down there, and we're stoked. We're ready to get down there with our boys in 200 stabs.
I think it'll be insane. Trey, thank you so much for your time, and look forward to seeing you guys when you come down. That'll be awesome.
Thank you for your time, and we'll see you in the pit.
100%. All right, man. Take care. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Cheers.